Hello, everybody, and welcome to the In Search of Darkness, Nightmare on Street 5, The Dream Child Watch Party. I'm Andrew Dalton, as always, and I'm joined here by the fabulous Karla Hampton, our super trivia superstar, producer, everything fantastic. Hello, Karla.
Hi, it's great to be back.
Well, we started this little story with you, and I thought, well, we better finish it with the big Nightmare fan, with
Yes.
Alice's #1 cheerleader.
Yes, that's my girl.
That's right. So everybody, we'll be queuing the movie up basically as soon as it starts. As with the other Nightmare films, it begins basically straight as the New Line logo appears. So quickly, let's just while everyone gets queued up, Karla, when was the first time you saw this? Was this one of the first Elm Street movies you saw? Did you see them out of sequence, or?
Oh no, I saw them in sequence. So
Okay.
definitely saw them in sequence. So yeah, saw this, I think it was almost year to the date after #4 was released in the theaters.
Right.
So I remember going to the theater to see this one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw 4 first. I think 4 was my first. I saw 4 first, then I saw 5, and then I saw 3. So I kind of saw that out of order. And then it took me a while, because I was quite young, to associate that the first one was connected with these. So hey,
right.
There you go. And then the last of them I saw was 2, which is some weird order. I'm sure people can read into something into that. Anyway, got everyone in the chat saying hello. Karla, you can see them as well. We've got Sharon, we've got Tom Fun, Embry, we've got Mad Matt, David, Aaron. No, Aaron, we're just about to hit play in just a moment. So if everyone's ready, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press play. And here we go. The New Line logo appears once again. I can't help but I don't know if it is the same. I know it's the same logo, but maybe it's just on the release I've got. It just seems a bit more cleaned up than I remember.
Yeah, me too. You know, Stephen Hopkins directed this film, and this, he was an art director before doing this film, and so he brought a lot of the visual elements to Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
Visually, it's definitely one of the most stunning, and it certainly looks, in some, as we're going to see when we go through the movie, got some incredible looking moments that we'll be discussing. Visually, it's possibly more stunning than some of the others.
Yes, and considering that he had about 4 weeks to shoot and 4 weeks to edit the film. I mean, he got hired in February and the movie was in theaters in August.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's such a rushed, tight deadline when you consider how quickly the movie, they must have been just tanking filming this. They must have been sprinting it like filming it like a TV show.
Oh yeah, I mean, when they're filming one scene, they're setting up the set for another scene. So it's just continuous filming.
Yeah. So just looking in the chat here, Mad Matt says this is probably his first watch. Never watched all these properly, just pieced them together through pop culture references and Halloween themed lore. Well, what we've tried to do as part of these watch parties is we've tried to cover this saga, because this is the final chapter in sort of a continuous story that starts with the Dream Warriors. So we've gone the Dream Warriors, the Dream Master, now the Dream Child. The other Nightmare on Elm Street movies are great, but these are a story within the 6/7 Nightmare on Elm Street movies, or 8, depending on how many people regard Wes Craven's New Nightmare and Freddy vs. Jason. Yeah,
and this film is really full circle, because they pitched the idea of Freddy being a father of a baby for #3. And they were like, no. But they revisited and came back to it for 5. So it really is kind of full circle for the producers too.
Yeah. I'm just going to try the bluest scene I think anyone's ever seen.
Exactly. Till this day, I still don't really understand, know what's going on in this scene.
Well, I think I kind of get the hint of what's implied is going on in this scene.
But it was just weird that the way they filmed it.
It's very, it's different. the music's quite different that we're hearing. Again, what's different is we're hearing the music. At the moment, it's quite a different kind of score we're hearing to the other movies. It's got a kind of off-key, kind of simplistic scale we're hearing.
Yeah.
And there's Alice.
And what I can assume is Dan.
Yes.
Fourth one.
It's Dan. There we go. Interesting thing, totally unconnected to this movie there. In the UK, we're not allowed flick light switches in our bathrooms.
Really?
Yep. If you have in a British home, if you have a light switch, it has to be a pull cord from the ceiling. And if you have a flick switch, it has to be on the outside of the bathroom for safety reasons. You're not allowed one in the bathroom.
Ah.
Every day is a school day. There we go.
This came out a year after the fourth one. So I'm assuming that there's like a year for them and, a year later for her.
Yeah, is it a year later? Is it maybe a bit more? I don't know.
I know. I feel like it's a little bit more.
I mean, how old would Alice have, again, where was Alice a senior or in high school? I don't know. I mean, her friend, I'm assuming she was younger than Kirsten, who was driving.
Right.
Because Kirsten was dating her older brother. So
yeah.
Let's assume this is after they've graduated or something, and
or right around about the time they're going to graduate.
Yeah.
What I can say is that the pacing of this film is really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, like right at the beginning, we're already in some sort of weird dream sequence.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty awesome. That scene must have been quite terrifying in some ways to shoot. I mean, that is a nightmare for people being trapped in a shower where the water rises.
Mm-hmm.
I would say so far, even just from the few moments we're into it, the way it's shot, the lighting, the cinematography, it looks a lot more expensive. And I would believe that they probably, because the movies have been doing this in the box office,
right?
The budget again was increased for this, which shows on screen.
Definitely. Also, in this scene, though, there'll be a cameo by Robert Englund.
Yeah,
I believe.
Oh, and Sharon just says,
yeah,
any scene involving drowning is terrifying. That's true. So here's a question for you, Karla, and everyone in our chat. Of all the movies you've seen, not just horror, which movie has the most terrifying drowning scene in it for you?
That's a tough. The one that comes to mind is What Lies Beneath. I believe that's the name. When Michelle Pfeiffer's in the bathtub and she's paralyzed and she can't move and the water is just slowly rising. And I think for me, that's terrifying because it's slowly rising and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Sorry. So we just saw Robert Englund briefly just appear.
Yep. So now we know for sure, like, who's in charge and who's running the show for this dream sequence.
And that outfit,
and again, the story of the
I was going to say
the story of the Vanda is continuing from the last film.
It is. And what I find creepy is the outfit those sort of sanatorium guards are wearing is such a sort of 50s, 60s American trope that you see, because that would be the same outfit, the all white outfit with the bow tie. You might see someone working as a waiter in a diner wearing the same outfit as a guy at the garage. But it's kind of terrifying. You'd see that same outfit everywhere. Sharon says any scene involving drowning is terrifying. I think for me, it would probably be, and it's not even drowning in water. It's in Superman the movie where Lois's car falls into a crack in the road and she drowns in dirt.
Oh,
as it pours in on her.
That one.
Yeah. I think that's probably the proper nightmare fuel for me.
In this scene here where Robert Englund pops up in her bed, he had a line in there, something about practicing safe sex or something, but they edited it out. Now this graduation scene here was much longer, and they edited it down, and you could see in the scene there's some continuity errors going on in this scene. So be sure to be on the lookout for those little things.
So we kind of have got their ages here. How old are you in America when you graduate sort of high school?
17, 18.
Okay.
Although nowadays it's like 19, 20.
Okay.
So Alice has a new friend group.
That's right. Well, they got thinned out rather in the last movie, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Aaron was 17 when he finished high school. And he went to have some kind of baked goods, apparently. And Sharon says, Lois Lane drowning made her cry. Yeah, it was a terrible scene. Oh, one of those giant lollipops that just tastes of nothing but sugar.
Pure sugar.
Yeah.
Also, what's interesting in this film is you have more of the parents.
Yes.
I think in this movie than you've had since maybe the first film. Really.
Yeah. I mean, these will be Springwood parents, not Elm Street parents, though.
Right.
Because I can't imagine only the children of Elm Street go to that school.
Right.
Especially again, because I suspect there's a lot of spare property on Elm Street at the moment.
Yes. So Alice is holding some paper with ribbons, and now she's holding some glasses.
Oh, that's a bit of a, yeah.
Now, in the previous films, particularly in the third one, they spent a lot of time really getting us to know the characters, where you really connected with the teens. And I felt that in the fourth one, we didn't get as much time with them, but they still established themselves and kind of who they were pretty good. What is your feeling about, these group of kids here as we kind of get introduced to them? And
they seem an okay bunch, but it does seem a little bit like the typical checkbox of the friendship circle. There's the fitness fanatic, the beauty queen, the crazy guy. Yes, I know lots of friendship circles all had those kind of things within them, but it does feel that maybe it's by committee.
Right.
And the trope of every parent wanting the child to go to college and have a big education.
So they bring her father back.
Yeah. It's very much a broken man, he seems, though.
Yes, yeah. Especially after the loss of his son.
Yeah.
Rick.
Did we ever find out what happened to Alice's mother?
No, just that she left the father because of his drinking.
Yeah. So I suppose Alice took on the caring role the mother had. Yes. I don't necessarily think he was an abusive drunk. I think he was a kind of
a mean at times. But
there we go.
But given what the director had to work with, I mean, they just finished the script like days before shooting. The studio was so impressed with him that they offered him Predator 2. So he directed Predator 2.
Which, strange enough, does have a similar tone in some ways.
Right.
This is very kind of, it does have a similar tone. One thing as well, I don't know if you've noticed about this so far, the color palette of the movie seems a lot more restricted. It's a lot more muted than the previous.
I did notice that.
So here's a question for everyone who's watching now. This is our final of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies in this saga that we're covering for the moment as part of our watch parties. Which has been your favorite part and why? I think for me, possibly, I mean, I do love them all, but I think possibly number 4, just because I think it's so crazy. We've got people, okay, Robin, the big man, says number 3. Cal, what says 3 rules? Okay, Sharon, the question is, Sharon wants to know what the question was. The question is, which was your favorite part of the 3-4-5 journey we've done so far?
Oh, and as we're waiting for answers to come in, listen to the nursery rhyme. They switched it up a little bit.
Yeah. So
the last 2 verses in the nursery rhyme are different than the original.
Okay. Tom Fun says 3, closely followed by 4. Anthony says number 3. Aaron said he preferred number 1 and 2 to 3 to 5. That's it. That's interesting. I can certainly say we will be revisiting the others or visiting them at some point, because we haven't covered them yet. But we wanted to do a sort of this is a standalone sort of saga, because you don't need to have really dealt with the first 2 to cover these. Oh, and we see this mysterious nun.
Yeah, I have to say, it's so close between 3 and 4. Yeah. Because, but I'd have to go with 3. Okay. I have to go with 3. It has my Kincaid, got my boy Kincaid in it. And I just really love the aspect of the Dream Warrior powers and battling Freddy. Yeah, right. And Anthony Collada said, and we had Heather Langenkamp back for number 3.
It's true, but I'm going to say I think I prefer Alice to Nancy as a hero in the movies, as the heroine. I think she's got more ass kicking about her.
Right. But Nancy was the first. Nancy was the first to figure out his weakness.
Yeah.
And her strength. She has a quiet strength about her that she was able to defeat Freddy. But you know what? Alice is the only one to have faced Freddy twice and survived. Kirsten, the second time she faced Freddy, died, and also Nancy, the second time she faced me, died. So she died. So
exactly. I'd love it if they did a follow-up years later and we got to see Alice come back again.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Let's hope someone in Hollywood's watching this and thinks that's a good idea.
Well, Lisa Wilcox has been away from acting for a while. She focused on raising her kids and she started a jewelry business. But just recently, she announced that she was back to acting and she's doing some more projects. Oh, wow. So maybe she'll be open to a Freddy reunion.
The way this is shot is quite different as well. Like that long corridor has that kind of very long nightmarish kind of corridor kind of look to it, almost Hellraiser-ish.
Yes. Now I have a question for folks in the chat. Do you think having this backstory developed even further, that's what started in Dream Warriors, is helpful or a hindrance to the story and to the franchise? Because sometimes it's dangerous to give kind of a backstory right to the villain.
Oh, wow. I think Freddy's backstory, they give you enough backstory to him. They don't give you every day of his life. And I think that's about right. Sometimes you can overdo the backstory and over explain things in the movie. I mean, this does show that he's a person born of bad blood.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily kind of explain the powers and stuff, which is fine by me.
Mm-hmm. Now
Exactly.
this is all.
As Tom Fun says,
Yep.
the backstory didn't make Freddy lose his mystique. Spot on.
True. That's true. That's true. Now this baby is truly a face that only a mother could love.
Yeah.
Was interesting. So the Freddy baby.
Wow.
Wow.
Exactly. The chat come up with some great stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
This did not go too far back. The remake did, the 2000s remake. I agree with you. It went too far back. It's too much into the story. And Mad Matt says, let evil be evil. You don't need to sympathize and feel sorry for the character. That's
right.
True.
True. So this
and
baby, oh, go ahead.
I was also going to say, and also nuns are inherently creepy.
Yes. So this baby is a puppet. It's a hand puppet. So the head was operated by hands. The arms, they had a rod that they were underneath the set moving the arms. And then the facial expressions were radio operated.
Right. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing.
Okay, question for the chat.
Go on.
Oh, question for the chat. Which Freddy revival do you like better? This one or the one in the fourth film where you had the Hellhound piss on Freddy and bring him back to life? Do you like that one, or you prefer the baby Freddy bringing Freddy back to life?
It's kind of cool. So I've got a bit of continuity again with the last with Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, with the death in Nightmare 3 and his return in Nightmare 4, and equally with his death in Nightmare 4 and his return now. It's he's being effectively both times being reborn in the place he was defeated prior to that.
Exactly. Yep. So Tom Fun said the fourth one. Sharon Anthony said the baby is sick. I love it. Sharon said this reborn is better. Someone said Calibot said can't beat flaming dog wee.
I just think it's kind of cool because this is where she fought him before, and it's like she's not either she's too scared or she's not using her powers,
right,
or she's had to practice with her powers. One of them could be many things,
or it's not her dream.
It's not her dream. It could be.
That's why she doesn't feel in control.
Oh, that's iconic.
Yes. The long arm going back to the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So David said he can understand the Hellhound, but he can't really understand the baby Freddy.
Have you seen this before, though, David? Because there's a lot of stuff we could spoil, but I'll try not to.
One of the best lines in this is coming up from Freddy. Love it. Disrespecting his mother like that. How rude.
Yeah. But again, this is similar to kind of the stuff with Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and we'll find out as we go further on with about Freddy and stuff. Again, I'm trying not to spoil this.
Right. Even the diner looks a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also remember, she was awake going into that dream as well. So we know now that something is not quite right. It's a little bit different in the fourth film.
Well, that's a thing that no one does now, payphones.
I know, right? Yvonne is played by Kelly Jo, I think Minter is her name. And you might recognize her from Summer School as well as People Under the Stairs.
Yeah. I'm kind of shocked that the Springwood School, are happy with the kids. Or have they broken in the pool at night?
Listen, it's the end of the school year. The teachers are out. The teachers are at the clubs. Like, they're not caring what the kids are doing. It's summertime.
They don't care.
They don't care. They're like, listen, my vacation has started. You kids do whatever you want to do.
I do wonder if some of these kids are also dream warriors, yet they don't know it.
A little bit of foreshadowing, are we?
I mean, ow. Oh, ow. Oh. Well, that hurts.
Listen, I'm the same way with blood. Like, I can't, like, I thought about being a doctor, going to med school. I was like, I can't be a doctor if I'm constantly passing out at the sight of blood. It's not going to work.
I can take certain blood, but it's just like broken. It's more like I'd rather be cut in the hand by a knife than broken glass. It's the messiness of the whole thing of a cut like that, rather than one clean cut.
Now, one thing to note for the different death sequences coming up in this film, that a lot of them were cut significantly. There was a lot more gore, a lot more close-up shots of pain and agony and Freddie torturing folks, but they didn't want to get X rating. So they cut a lot down.
Wow. The thing is, as well, this is the last of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies in the 80s, because this was 1989. So we wouldn't see Freddy again until Freddy's Dead, which I believe was 91. I think, from memory. Final Nightmare. But what I would say is, this is really the end of Freddy at the height of his 80s pop culture powers.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, the kids that grew up with Freddy are now young adults going into adulthood.
Yeah.
Oh, not this is one. Now, this is one of I think this is one of the best death scenes outside of Debbie's Roach Motel from the fourth one.
Yeah. And there's actually a very similar kind of death, but maybe not as over the top as this. Even with, Heather's husband in
New Nightmare.
New Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of a similar kind of truck out of control death.
Right.
But this is, as great as some of this is maybe where you can see it started to go. The Nightmare on Elm Street 3 started to bring in the exaggerated deaths.
Right.
4 pushed them, but it was, I don't know, was it responding to the public saying, right, so they were at an 8, now we've got to give them an 11? And does it suffer a bit because some of the deaths go so over the top?
Right. Well, you know, Freddy is now kind of over the top. Right.
Yeah.
And because the director comes from an art direction background, again, you know, his pitch for this movie, he like basically drew a whole comic book with all the storyboards. I mean, he was very visual. And so for him, that's kind of what he was bringing to this film. So I almost think that the deaths kind of had to be over the top at this point. I think we kind of jumped the shark.
Yeah. What do you guys in the chat feel? Yeah. Do you feel that the deaths, I mean, some of the deaths are awesome in this, but do you feel maybe they started to get a bit too over the top? But this is such a cool scene.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, how much more gory and painful did they film it as? Because this is pretty intense. Sharon said, not bad for 4 weeks of filming.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be fair, this is some amazing kind of prop and effects work they're doing here.
Right. Tom Fun said, I think it was a great response to Freddy's increased popularity.
Yeah.
Aaron says, silly is fun, though.
I agree.
David says, over the top is Final Destination. Yeah. So one of the things the producers and the writers felt they had to create rules for Freddy's coming back into our world. And so we'll see throughout kind of like he's collecting, you know, souls, which also goes back to 4 and 3rd, where Freddy talks about how he collects the souls of his victims.
That's right. And they kind of power him up. They kind of charge.
Yeah.
Oh, and this truck driver looks very familiar. As awesome as Alice is, I think she's probably the kind of girl you don't want to be friends or in a relationship with.
Why? Because she has so many problems.
Well, it's not so much her having problems. I think it's the periphery that surrounds her that do. Being her partner or one of her friends or related to her is usually a pretty put it like this: if you're a friend of hers or related to her, buying a multi-pack of Coke is maybe a lifelong decision. But Mad Max has a good point. This can be as cartoonish as possible in the Nightmare realm. Where it loses me is where there are no hard rules as to how deaths occur for physical manifestations. That is something I think can get a bit jumbled in these movies.
Yeah.
As we kind of said before, it's like where we had Joey, whereby he suddenly drowned inside, but he was inside the waterbed they found him. That was a bit...
Right.
Surely it would have been... I could accept if in number 4, just come back to that death, because that's one of the ones that does hurt me a bit. It showed in the death, Freddy came out the waterbed and pulled him into the waterbed, and he just drowned him in the waterbed. Well, surely then his mother just finding him drowned in the waterbed would have been more appropriate. You didn't need to put him inside a sealed waterbed.
One of the best lines. Oh, you're just a little bit pregnant. So now we're starting to think, okay.
Yeah. Embry says, better than overly pregnant.
Well, so now she has to think she's the last.
Yeah.
You know, from her
original,
yeah.
Original gang.
But let's be honest, Dan was always kind of the weaker of the two, right? He was.
Yeah.
Pretty face, handsome face.
Yeah.
But yeah, he always kind of was like Alice was kind of his protector. So
Alice was the protector of most of them in the end.
mm-hmm.
But the thing is as well, men never do well against Freddie. I can't think of any, maybe with the exception of Jesse.
But again, it was his girl, though. It was
his girl who saved him, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is Miko Hughes again, isn't it? I believe.
I think it is. No.
Jacob. It might not be. No, sorry. Miko Hughes played
Cage.
right? Yeah. He also played Nancy's son in New Nightmare. He played Dylan.
Right. Jacob is Whit Hertford.
Okay.
And he was in a lot of 80s TV shows, like a guest star.
Wow. Oh, those dolls are creepy.
They're very creepy. Remind me of the
dolls. Yeah.
Remind me of the movie Dolls.
Yeah.
No, the one thing I can appreciate in this movie that some people find frustrating is her friend Yvonne not believing her. Because if your friend really came up to you with this story, you'd be like, okay. I mean, you wouldn't immediately be like, yeah, sure, I believe you. So, you know, she was kind
of... you think she'd know a bit about what had happened to all the previous Elm Street kids? It's not like Alice relocated to a brand new city on the other side of the country or something. She's in the same school, in the same town, so there'd be some overlap. She would have potentially been attending school when all the others were dying.
Right, but you know, the parents and the adults covered up why the kids have passed, and we see that in Freddy versus Jason. Really,
that's true. There's a photo on the wall of someone in a karate outfit doing some karate. Is that her dead brother? Just saw it briefly. Sharon says, good friends would call you out if you sounded crazy like that.
Right.
I don't know, but there's also the urban legend thing about every school has urban legends.
Right.
Mad Matt says, wouldn't this be the urban legend everyone knew about already? It's, yeah.
It would, but you know, as a teenager, news, you know, you forget, you move on. You know, you kind of go on with your life and you kind of forget about it. And if the adults in the school and everything is keeping it quiet.
Or is there an element of Freddy's powers that maybe aren't explained? Right. That you have to be one of his potential you have to have been one of his victims, even if he hasn't fully attacked you. Otherwise, you just don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm. Also in this movie, Freddy has a purpose, right? In the fourth one, he just wanted more souls, right? More kids, more victims. And this one, he's trying to be reborn, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things about this movie is that I don't think the body count is as high in this film as compared to the others.
Well, thank you, David. Whit Hartford was also the annoying kid in Jurassic Park, the one who said the raptor looks like a big chicken.
Oh, yeah.
And Calbot says quite rightly, the whole plot of Freddy versus Jason was that the parents had suppressed the story as much as possible. And the kids that they couldn't, they put into the asylum and pumped them full of dream suppressant medication. And Embry, that's a really good point, Embry. Could be similar to It, where once you grow up, you lose belief in the stories unless you're directly involved in them, and then you have the chance to remember it.
That's a good point.
So I'm trying to think, does Freddy really have any dream world adult victims in any other movies?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I'm getting strong Beetlejuice dinner party vibes on this table.
Yes.
Kind of 80s pretentiousness.
Yes. From the mother's hair color to her outfit.
Yeah.
Now you could think that this death sequence is a little bit silly, but it's actually gruesome and quite painful looking.
Yeah.
And again, he taps into kind of their fear or what they have anxiety about.
There seem to be quite a few scenes as well in this movie with Robert Englund where he just appears briefly out of makeup.
Maybe he put that in his contracts, like, listen, I'm tired of sitting in that makeup chair.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh.
Yeah. So in this one, in this sequence, Freddy was supposed to fillet the Greta doll, causing it to spurt blood everywhere and then feed her the innards from the doll.
Which is what he appears to be doing. Oh, this is awful.
Oh.
It's, as David says, it makes you think of the meaning of life. It's that kind of comedy element of the meaning of life, but taken to the extreme.
And this is similar to Sheila's death in 4, where she's having an attack in class and no one can really do anything, but they see her physically in distress.
What I would say is if that scene of her standing up and choking was real, they are all absolute douchebags at that table because clearly she was choking on food.
Yes. Someone could have did the Heimlich maneuver.
Yeah. Oh.
Tom Hunt said, nice stop motion.
Yeah. Sharon says that scene reminds her of the Gozer the Traveller scene in Ghostbusters with kind of the haunted fridge.
Again, the pacing is really quick, kind of like.
Yeah. The movie is, again though, the movie's pacing is so quick. This movie is, based on my timer here, this is a 90-minute movie and we are approaching halfway through. Well, we're probably just over halfway through, if not just halfway through if you take out the end credits of the time allocated. 41 minutes in this movie is just pelting through.
And again, while you don't really get to know the characters as well as some of the other films, you can still feel there's like a camaraderie amongst this group.
You see their friends, and Alice acts as your gateway into this new group of friends she's made. You know they're very much the same as friends from the other movie. They seem decent, quirky people, but
oh, I forgot to mention that Greta, even though she didn't have a ton of film roles after this, she was in Twin Peaks for several episodes. She was Selena Swift, the twins Emerald and Jade. Plus, she was in a soap opera within the TV show for Twin Peaks. And I don't think the actor who played Mark had any major film roles after this either.
Well, Embry's just saying, I think a solid 20 minutes of small character additions could have gone a long way for this movie, but it's not compressed enough to really be detrimental to it. But I do wonder, again, something we said about this movie, about how I think it seems of all the Elm Streets, it's the most Elm Street by committee in a lot of ways. I think because I think what they probably said was to the director, they were impressed with him because they gave him the higher budget. The effects are probably that little bit better, but also it's bang on 90 minutes, which is that sweet spot that the movie theaters want. But when it's released in the summer, they can get the butts in the seats quicker and turn the screens around.
Exactly.
So I think it's quite a lean movie in that respect. They cut out a lot of character development stuff at the expense of just keeping the story going.
Right. And you had about, what, 3 to 4 writers who worked on this script, different iterations of it. So I think they were still kind of trying to figure it out when they started filming. I used to think, oh my gosh, how could he sleep or exist in his space? It just seems so much going on.
He does, but it's kind of that kind of 80s, like in the 80s, remember everyone had a really cool studio apartment that used to be a factory.
Right.
It's like that kind of thing. Is that actually a proper bed he's got, or is he sleeping on a shelf with a mattress on it? I'm trying to.
Now again, we're starting to kind of see her tap in to kind of her dream warrior power that Kirsten gave to her, ability to go into people's dreams or pull people in.
That's right. But this is also now where I'm starting to wonder if he is also a dream warrior, yet doesn't know it, as we'll see shortly. And here's the thing. Is it that only Elm Street children could potentially be dream warriors? Is it some kind of a counterbalance ability they have? By if we go back to what they said, with Amanda and Nancy as potentially was rumored to be sort of the dream angels or whatever, the antithesis to Freddy, is that they are empowered in the opposite way to Freddy as a way to fight him.
That there has to be like a balance.
Yeah.
Right. That reminds me of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Remember the thing coming out of her closet? That kind of umbilical cord looking. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, the chat already saying that it looks like that scene looked like something from Take on Me by Aha. That kind of animation. And here we go, Mark.
Now we're going to start to get some more clues as to what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd put that up for adoption.
No, not Jacob. And And it's interesting, wasn't like in the 80s, teen pregnancy was a huge thing. I don't know if it was a problem in the UK like it was in the US, but
it was a thing. It was a thing that there were campaigns to advise not to have teen pregnancies, etc.
right, right. So question for the chat, so far in this film, which death scene was best so far, Dan or Greta's?
I think Greta's was more disturbing, but Dan's was cooler.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is I could have done without Dan's kind of Freddy possessing him in the real world, talking to her, and then that little zinger at the end.
Right.
I don't think every death needs a zinger. Oh, Hannah Rose Artist has joined us. Hi there, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
Yeah,
People in the chat are saying Dan.
Dan, yeah.
See, now we know that Alice is completely out of her power now because she's panicking. Yeah. She's really thinking that moving away is going to get her away from Freddy. That's not how it works.
No.
So this is the first time really we've seen her be vulnerable.
It is, because she doesn't seem to be able to use any of her. I mean, is the pregnancy affecting her powers? As in, she just isn't able to call on it, because she should have Kincaid's strength,
right?
Zoe's scream, the technology brilliance. She should have Kristen's power. She should have all the previous Dream Warriors powers we saw, and her brother's martial arts.
Right.
She doesn't seem to be calling on it on any of those.
And again, I wonder if it's because it's not her dream.
Or did she lose the powers at the end of the fourth movie, where all the souls left Freddy and went to heaven?
Mm-hmm.
Hannah Rose says, a lot of the deaths could have been avoided if the adults were straight up more honest with the kids. The moment the deaths had started up again, even the Simpsons version had Marge fessing up once Martin bit the dust.
80s trope, every movie death needed a slinger, Matt 42 says. Or did the writers just completely forget about all that?
Her friend who works at the hospital isn't a nurse. I'm assuming by that outfit she just works in the store or something in there.
She's in the US, those are called candy stripers, and they're just volunteers.
Okay.
Yes. When I was in high school, I was going to be one, but I ended up in the PT department instead of being a candy striper.
Hannah says nightmares about basically about driving nightmares, and it's a relief to wake up from them. And David says, in real life, you always get half a bottle of gel on you when getting an ultrasound.
Again, with the special effects budget, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is, again, some really nice effects, very similar to those that we would see in a movie we're going to be covering as part of our Summer of Popcorn, which is Inner Space, which has a very similar kind of effects. But I mean, these are, especially for New Line, who weren't a major budget production company at the time, they're pretty impressive.
Right. And just think about the returns that they are getting on these movies. You know,
Oh yeah.
doing a horror film, you don't have marquee actors, not have to pay them a lot. I mean, the budget can be really, I mean, yeah.
This movie didn't need a great deal of mark. I mean, yes, it maybe didn't do as well as some of the others at the box office, but it probably had enough marketing momentum of its own just by the name the new Nightmare on Elm Street coming out, that it didn't
Right.
need a heavy push.
Right. It came in number 3 at the box office and then wasn't in the theaters for long. And apparently it's the lowest grossing film of the franchise.
Mm.
But Robert England thought it was a success. He was like, I love it. I think he liked this one.
I like it. Don't get me wrong. It's tonally very different.
It is. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you prefer kind of film franchises that have the same director, kind of have the same team? So it kind of has that continuity and same feel, or do you kind of like the change?
I think that's a good question for our chat as well. Do you
Yeah.
prefer the changing? I mean, all the Elm Street movies basically have a different tone to them.
Mm-hmm.
They are tonally different throughout. I think probably that's why I like number 4 the best, because it's got that sense of energy. It's probably got the highest energy of any of
Right.
them.
Yep.
I think it's great though. It does the new directors and writers and everyone bring something new to the table. At least it's not just rehashing the same scene from every other movie.
Right.
Oh.
She is just really resisting.
Yeah. Wow. I know someone who's dying soon.
Oh my gosh, think of all the microfiche he had to go through.
Yeah.
To get those documents.
Oh, I remember using microfiche in school before we had it. Show my age. I remember we had no internet in school, where you had to go to the library and look in books and go through microfiche for old newspapers and articles. And
yes. Anthony says, I love the different takes from the directors and writers, as long as they keep things fresh and try to push forward the lore and the franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
He's definitely been photocopying a lot of newspaper pages.
For sure. Now this scene here was giving me very like Degrassi high.
Yeah. This scene feels almost out of place in this movie a little bit.
Right.
This feels like something out of like a Degrassi High. In the UK, we had a very similar kind of high school drama called Grange Hill that would have similar kind of things where parents be, right now, how are we going to deal with this situation? We'll have social services coming and we'll talk about the child's adoption.
Right. I mean, I wonder if the filmmakers are trying to give her another threat, like throw another kind of threat in there to show that it's not just Freddy in the dream world, but there's real world things going on that's also threatening her and her child and her family.
Yeah.
And also, this is the first time where Alice really acknowledges her being a mom, her pregnancy, and her wanting to keep her child.
I do think I would have liked to have seen a scene again, but again, this is maybe what we spoke about with trimming the movie and just keeping it going so fast. I would have liked to have maybe seen a scene where she had quite a bit of fondness with his parents. Maybe they were very nice to her, and her hanging out at the house, that kind of thing, was all good with them. And then this would have maybe seemed more painful than people who are basically random strangers to the story suddenly appearing.
Right. But, you know, I got the sense at the graduation that they were kind of tolerating her because of Dan, but they really wanted Dan to go to college and play football and not be tied down by Alice.
Hannah Rose just has a great quote here, which is, to quote the Golden Girls referring to Elm Street 3, do you need to watch the first and second movies first? No, Rose, it stands alone. Which is very true.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And it's interesting the amount of time that they're giving to this backstory, this mystery of trying to figure out, you know, about this nun and where she could be. And
I kind of would have liked to have seen her appear a little bit more, but if you notice, she only seems to be appearing in the dreams associated with Alice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she's not appeared in the dream with any of the friends who've died.
Right.
Anna Rose says, I have to say Elm Street 3 should have been the second film of the franchise. She loves part 2, but the flow is better because we see Nancy again immediately. Well, actually, yes and no, Hannah, because I don't think Nancy really appears. She does appear in it, but I'd say it's about a third of the way through the movie before Nancy, a quarter to a third of the way through before Nancy appears. She's not at the absolute get-go of the movie she appears. It's a great way she's reintroduced to the story.
Right. And I almost felt as if Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 was a haunted house or a possession film.
Yeah.
Versus a Freddy film.
It's just a crazy film. It's great, and I can't wait till we cover it at some point. But
right.
It's absolutely crazy. But yeah.
And again, that came from the director. Like the director of 4 was absolutely high energy, all over the place. Like, and that's what the film was. It was high energy.
Yeah. Oh.
The one thing I can say about horror films and the nightmare films is that what I can appreciate about horror, especially being a woman of color, African-American woman, is that they don't stereotype.
No.
You know, like in these films, like Kincaid, you know, he survived the third one. In this one, you have this young, you know, Black woman who volunteers at the hospital. She's a swimmer, she's a diver.
Yeah.
And so she was not just a typical stereotypical character, right?
Yeah.
And so to have that on film, I think is important. And all of these movies have the female protagonist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they take Final Girl to a whole nother level. It's not just the, you know, virginal, wimpy girl who at the end finds some sort of strength, right? Yep. Not in these films.
It's the thing. I mean, as we said earlier, there's no male character in it. Well, as you corrected me, quite right. There's no male character in any of the Elm Street movies who is the one who defeats Freddy.
Right. That's what was so disappointing about the remake. What they did to Nancy's character and how she couldn't defeat Freddy on her own at the end. Like she had to have her emo boyfriend rescue her. And I was just like, what are you doing to Nancy? No. Oh,
Oh,
oh, that's pretty cool.
seems to be considerably more sort of miniature type effects in this movie. Again, probably because of the higher budget, there seems to be a lot of the deaths are a lot more effect heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've had dreams where I'm falling before, and I hate them. Absolutely hate falling stuff.
What's interesting is that, most times when Freddie pulls someone into their dream, they're in the boiler room or his home, right? Or
Yeah.
Nancy's home, I should say. But he pulled her into this asylum place where Alice was at.
And you can actually see Alice was kind of being pulled in there because she was
Right.
kind of just spinning through the air, being drawn in.
Yep.
I mean, is it here that actually Freddie is using Alice's power through Jacob to draw people in to get them?
Ah, that is a possibility. And this idea that he doesn't want to cross over.
Yeah. It's like he's back, but he knows he's got his limits on his power.
Exactly.
He's not at full power.
Exactly. That there's another force, there's another energy that's kind of fighting against him, that he's not quite strong enough yet.
Yeah. If you think about it, maybe like in 4, he lost all the souls that were in him. He lost his power. He's running on fumes at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And Sharon just says, probably shouldn't be going in the pool. So I was saying yes, and we here at CREATORVC encourage responsible swimming.
Yes. Drive responsibly and swim responsibly.
That's correct.
So the director, so they knew that this upcoming sequence was a little bit silly, but the director's a huge comic book fan, and he just could not resist the scene coming up with Mark. And what's interesting is that right now, Mark is being pulled into the comic book. So who created I guess Freddie created that comic book.
Yeah.
And he was already in the dream or dreaming when he got pulled into the comic book.
Or is it because he's a comic book super fan, he's having a comic book dream and Freddie's just twisted that dream? So you can imagine he probably would have dreams where he has comic book stuff. But then again, think back to Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and this is where I'm going to infer that I think potentially he could be a dream warrior himself without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Because as we saw with the other kids, in my dreams, I'm bad and beautiful. In my dreams, my legs are strong, I'm a wizard. And in his dream, was about to see something different.
Mm-hmm.
Such kind of an 80s thing there, Freddie on a skateboard.
Right.
Great kind of sort of effects and set and everything here, though.
Mm-hmm. Great use of colors and
the very muted sort of grayscale palette for everything.
Right. Again, Freddie knows how to hit him where it hurts. That was the girl he was in love with.
But equally, is it Freddie gains more power from killing should we say, a dream warrior? Because Freddy's driven him to go to the extent of his power, as he did all the Dream Warriors before he killed them, is that he gains more power when they're at the height of their power if he kills them then.
Oh. Like the energy he absorbs from them is stronger. There's a charge, more of a charge to it.
Yeah.
Let's see, I hate Freddy. He just be playing with people.
Yeah.
Super Freddy. Again, this is a kind of a great use of the colors and showing that his color is drained, and so
Yeah, this is his life.
dying. Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of like the Kill Bill. You know, it was so bloody, but it was muted, so you didn't see. Okay, so what did you guys think of this Super Freddy, of this comic book scene, death?
Yeah. I mean, has this movie got some of the least Freddy kills in it?
I know. You know, the filmmakers, they after they finished filming, they were kind of editing booth. They were like, "Oh man, I think we messed up." They were like, "We don't have that many kills in this film." They were like, "Oh," they were like, "But you know, we try to make it fun. We try to make the kills different." But I think they kind of realized that they had missed out on that with the body count being so low. Sharon said the death is fun and original.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Someone said, I love Super Freddy.
And so we're joined by two friends on Facebook. I'll just quickly say hello to them. We've got Patrick Morse and Steve Emerson joining us on Facebook. So hi, guys.
Hi, welcome. You know, so interesting, like watching this again, I realized that, you know, Yvonne wasn't just kind of the sidekick best friend, just to kind of check on Alice's welfare and see how she's doing. But I venture to say that I think she's the actual hero of the movie. I don't think, yeah, you know, I think she was very integral to some certain plot points that are going to be coming up.
I mean, she's kind of taken over the lead hero, heroine role, away from Alice, while Alice is kind of sidestepped. I love this matte painting, even though it's a bit cheesy.
Yes, right, me too. Now that's a sign of a true friend, because I'm not going to no haunted house asylum. Like I'm not,
at night, especially
at night.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I could do it.
The only thing is that wasn't in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, this the same asylum that the kids were in, and it was just, there was a wing of it that was closed for Amanda.
Oh yeah, but it can't be though, because this looks really old and dilapidated, like it's been shut down for a long time.
A wizard did it. Something happened in there. So yeah, because I thought it was the asylum in the third there was a wing or something where
that was closed.
Yeah, and that's where Amanda's sort of body and stuff had been. Oh, that's very cool, Mad Matt. All of the current Marvel TV series are drawing from comic book stories of this period. He has most of them. That's very, very cool. But of course, this again, with that comic book thing we saw there, this is of the comic book movie resurgence in 1989, was very close to this. And stylistically, this is very similar of in some ways of Batman 1989, which kind of
Oh
rebooted
yeah.
the comic book, that kind of gothic. It's where we started to get kind of the Tim Burton gothic-esque movie look.
Yep. The muted colors and
yeah. Yeah, but I was stronger than you, not I am stronger than you.
She's giving me very Ripley vibes, you know.
Yeah.
Get away from her, you know that.
Yeah. So, question for the chat. Would you be going into the asylum at night? Your friend, I'm sorry. I have a lot of good friends. I wouldn't go into the asylum at night for any of them, I'm afraid.
I guess, you know, after her experience with Freddie, kind of like, what else could get much worse?
No.
Right.
Exactly. So she's going to knock another, with when this came out and when this was shot, she's going to knock another hole in the wall and find a DeLorean bricked up on, covered in a sheet. So another interesting fact is that 1989 was the only year a film from Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street were all released in the same year, that decade.
Yep. The only time. And it was Friday the 13th, part 8, right? Jason Takes Manhattan. And then Halloween 5, I believe. The Return. Now, okay, those 3 films are in the theater and you can only choose one to see. Which do you go see?
Nightmare 5.
Nightmare 5,
yeah.
Jason 8, or
no, my answer would be Nightmare 5 without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Really?
I felt that Halloween film felt more like a TV movie. And I think, I don't know, I've just always found, especially as the movies have gone a bit later on, I think some of the Jason movies got a bit too silly. Yeah, that's a question for our chat. The chat will start answering the questions. Oh, Calbot, that's a good point. Sharon says she wouldn't be going anywhere at night with anyone. She's too old, but she used to do stuff like that when she was younger. Embry said they wouldn't go to the asylum because they have no friends. Well, you do have it. Embry, you do have friends. You've got all the people in the community.
Exactly.
So we're your friends. So you can't say you haven't got any friends. Then in response to which movie would you go see, Tom Fun said Freddy, Sharon said Jason, Phonics says Nightmare, Anthony Galatis says Freddy, and Calbot says about the movies that count in 1989, Star Trek 5 more terrifying than all of them. That's true. I don't know if you've ever seen, there was a promotional poster for Star Trek 5 that said, why are the theatres fitting seatbelts to the chairs this summer? And I think it was only to stop people leaving in droves during the movie. Star Trek 5 was a rough watch.
Now, what movie does this remind you of with the stairs and the inverted and?
Bit Labyrinth.
Labyrinth, yep.
Yeah. But that's based on it. It's all based on Escher's artwork, isn't it? With the infinite staircases and MC Escher, I believe. Oh, and David said Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, another great movie from 1989.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that was good too. I think I would have to go with Freddy though. Just I would want to see the continuation of Alice's story.
Yeah. I mean, visually, this is brilliant, the way this is put together.
Yeah.
I would certainly say these are some of the most dreamlike sequences in all the Nightmare films. The most kind of sort of otherworldly, dreamy things, not just where you're in a different location.
Right.
Embry says it reminds me of the game Sanitarium. I've not played that. The only thing that seems a little strange here is it's still cool with me. What are these strange pillars here? Oh, and they've got all faces on them. I mean, are these something to do with the dream demons? The ones that we learn later on are the source of Freddy's power.
I just uploaded into Discord the poster of Pregnant Freddy.
Yeah.
How could you not want to see this movie after seeing this poster? Come on.
I don't know. Have you got the other one, Karla? The other one I put on our Trello.
Let's see. This is the one that I got from Trello.
There's another one on there as well. And this is kind of cool. We can see Freddy bursting out through Alice at the moment.
Right, which is reminiscent of Jesse from part 2.
Yeah.
When Freddy came out of Jesse. So while these films have different directors, writers, there's still a sliver of continuity from story to story. It still kind of harkens back to the older films. Shocker. Oh, shocker.
There we go. I've got the other poster. I've uploaded it now.
Oh,
the Japanese Nightmare on Elm Street 5 poster.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What movie were they thinking this was? Because this is not. So again, we see here that Yvonne releases the spirit of Amanda Kruger. And so that was kind of the turning point because Alice is losing. She was losing in her battle against Freddy.
And Amanda's now gone to be one with the Force, evidently, because she disappeared like a Jedi. Just the clothes left behind. It's all connected. Nightmare on Elm Street, Star Wars, and Call the Midwife.
Right.
Oof.
Wow. Uh-oh, Freddy in trouble now.
Yeah.
Now, the original line for Jacob was to say, F you, Kruger. But being that he was a kid and all, they changed it to School's Out, Kruger. Yeah, I think that was a better line.
This is one of the weirder Freddy deaths, I would say.
Yeah, yes.
But again, we can see, similar to what we saw in the previous, the souls that are in him are trying to break free and sort of end him. Yet you can see he was running on low power. He's only got 3 souls, as opposed to at the end of 4, where he was incredibly powerful. You could see all the many souls inside him.
Yep. And again, it's also similar to his death in the 4th film, the souls. Yeah.
Exactly. The souls basically tearing him apart.
Mm-hmm. Boy, that's not the ugliest baby I think I've ever seen in my life. Oof.
Oh, now Jacob. Oof. I certainly would say, I think someone's mentioned this in the chat so far. I don't know if you've ever seen the Harry Potter movies, the sort of the scared, evil, disembodied body of Lord Voldemort. I think there's definitely some kind of influence of that there.
Yeah. You know, Freddy's down, but he's never out.
No.
You know, so there's still some.
Amanda's had to almost reunite with Freddy, you can see. Yeah.
Right, right. But he's still trying to get out, though.
Yeah. Oof.
The
One thing we never learn from horror franchises, they never truly die. That's very right, Sharon.
mm-hmm.
Very right.
Actually, baby Jacob was played by a little baby girl.
Ah.
So again, we have the telltale sign of things to come.
Yeah.
The girls
got to get those Pepsi products out.
Got the creepy little girls playing jump rope.
Yeah.
You know, that's Vincent Price from the Thrillers, Michael Jackson's Thriller song that they just sampled as him laughing.
That's wonderful. Well, everybody, that was Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5,
Oh.
which was so much fun. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you to everyone in America, especially, as you're taking time out your busy 4th of July to join us today, especially. Thank you to Karla and all our amazing audience for spending part of your day with us. So much fun, so much fun.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
How do you feel, though, then? That's us done on this Nightmare on Elm Street saga.
You know, it brings back, it's like getting nostalgic. It brings back so many memories of watching these films and going on the journey with Alice. And I love the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I love Alice. And I really can appreciate what the filmmakers tried to do. I felt like they never phoned it in with these films, whether you liked it or didn't like it or disagree with the direction, at least they had a point. They had a point they were trying to make with these films. There is something they were trying to do creatively, artistically, with the storyline, with the mythology, the mythos of Freddy. So I really appreciate that. And I think that's why these films, for me, still resonate, because they still resonate. I'm still finding things when I watch these films that I didn't know before, didn't recognize before. And so, yeah, so this definitely won't be the last time I watch a Nightmare on Elm Street film again, but it's been really fun. And I think doing 3, 4, and 5 was just perfect.
It's great just to finish off a little story like that. And that's what we're going to be carrying on with our watch parties here on CREATORVC Live. I mean, Karla being a co-host and one of the major people behind these, I think we've got some exciting stuff, because next week we kick off the first segment of our Summer of Popcorn. Yay. As we're calling it, which is going to be 8 weeks of popcorn, fun, big movies that we're going to be racing through one a week, alternating between horror and sci-fi. And we're kicking it off next week with one of our most requested movies of all time, with Flight of the Navigator, which is such a great, fun movie. And then we will be returning the week after to horror with Fright Night, and we've got a couple of special guests already lined up for that, which I think people are really going to enjoy. That's going to be great fun. So for the next 8 weeks, everybody, please bring your popcorn, bring your soda, bring your beer, have fun, check out the trailer on CREATORVC Live. But is there anything in the Summer of Popcorn you're really looking forward to, Karla? Any movies that are...
I really love Fright Night. I'm really looking forward to Fright Night and Poltergeist. And, you know, I haven't seen Inner Space in forever, so I'm excited about Inner Space. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I can see Robin's excited for Inner Space. I mean, let's quickly run through the schedule for everyone in our Discord, in our horror Discord at the moment. So we will be going with Flight of the Navigator, Fright Night, Inner Space, Fright Night 2, Space Camp, Child's Play, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, Poltergeist, and then Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. So it's quite a big
Yeah.
lineup of fun movies.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to Fright Night though, because it's just such a fun horror movie. It's an absolute fun horror movie. So, question chat. We'll be carrying on with these watch parties after the summer of popcorn, of course. Is there any other sort of fun horror movies you'd really like to see? Mention them to us. We'll put them on the infamous list we've got here and get content lined up that you guys want to see.
Yes.
I'm just saying Fright Night with Poltergeist afterwards. I mean, that's a strong lineup.
Very strong. And then Child's Play. I'll go with Child's Play as my Child's Play.
Oh yeah.
Fright Night, Inner Space. Oh yeah.
Well, we've got people wanting Hellraiser. Oh, Hellraiser's certainly on our list.
Certainly, for sure.
It really is. And we've got quite a bit of stuff lined up for you guys. We've even gone as far as, on the list in front of me, I can't really share it with you, but we've even got Halloween movies and Christmas movies scheduled at the moment. And we've been listening. I'm not going to spoil it quite yet, but we'll be releasing the schedule as soon as possible for the rest of the year. So anyway, Karla, I just want to say though, thank you for joining us again. Oh, everyone wants Hellraiser. God, there's so many people wanting Hellraiser.
Yeah. Wow. 1 and 2. Wow.
1 and 2. Well, what I would say is this very much had a Hellraiser vibe to part of it.
Yeah,
I think some of the tunnel scenes, especially the scene where she was pushing Freddy on the stroller, was it?
Yep. The carriage
spikes. That kind of scene was very similar to some of the Hellraiser movies, where there are scenes, sort of terrible things racing down corridors, mechanical things after people. Well, I don't think we'll quite be covering Mad Max, Bill and Ted Face the Music. That's maybe a little bit too new, but it's not to say we might not be taking an excellent adventure at some point in time. But anyway, to say to everybody, we will be back next week, kicking off the summer of popcorn with Flight of the Navigator over on Sci-Fi, and then we will be back on horror the week after with Fright Night. So
Fright Night.
So everybody, it's been a wonderful time. Thank you to all of you for joining us.
Yes,
and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.